Hey, what's up guys, it's Mike with Alpha Reptiles, and I'm here today with a different kind of video. Today we're going to be setting up a nano fully planted aquascape for, obviously, fish. Before we get into the video, I really want to thank Pisces Pet Emporium as well as Kyle. Both of those people are fundamental reasons why this video is happening. Pisces, as a part of the giveaway and kind of a kickback to me, I suppose, they gave me this tank to set up. This is the 9-gallon Fluval Flex. If you're interested in the actual setup, you guys can click up here and you will be led to the video. So make sure you go check that out if you're interested in seeing all the plants that I got, the hardscape, and the unboxing of the tank itself. Kyle from Tropica provided me with all the plants that I'm putting in this tank, so thank you very much, Kyle. I really appreciate it, and I hope those beautiful plants work their way into an incredible scape. For those of you that are watching this video as it comes out or shortly after, before February 23rd, you guys can follow the link right up here so you guys can go check out the giveaway that I'm doing with Pisces Pet Emporium. We're giving away 3 separate kind of reptile kits, so if you guys are interested in that, make sure you go check out that video and go enter the giveaway. I strongly recommend it. It's free to you guys, so why not, right? Once you have the tank unboxed and ready to go, now what you want to do is gather your materials. You're going to want to gather all the plants that you have, any hardscape that you have, which includes driftwood and or raw, have it all in one place. And before I actually get into the setup of this 9-gallon Fluval Flex, this is a relatively new system and it comes with a full kit. So you have internal filtration, circulation, as I'll be using the light that comes with it. The only reason I'm using this light right now is just so that I can get into the tank without having to open a lid or anything like that. Before getting into the actual scaping and putting in the substrate, I want to mention to you guys to consider where you're going to be putting the tank. Me personally, I'm going to put it right next to my bed, so it's a little tiny space between the area of where my reptile rack ends and my bed starts. I have a little side table there and that's where it's going. So I need to consider that I'm going to be viewing it from 2 separate angles. The angle that you guys are seeing it right now, as well as when I'm lying on my bed and I want to look over at my fish tank. So it is really crucial that before you start scaping, you know where you're going to put your tank, or at least have some general idea. With all things considered, that way you can actually factor in the way you're going to be viewing your tank with how you're scaping your fish tank. And with that being said, let's get into adding the substrate. You guys can see here that my substrate of choice is the Tropica aquarium soil. This is the powdered version, just because I'm working in a smaller area, so I figured I'll have kind of forced perspective and have a little bit smaller substrate as well. And I know this is an extra added cost. Here in Canada, this is about $50 for a 9-liter bag. I'm not going to be using anywhere near that much for a 9-gallon tank. B, I think it is definitely something that you guys want to factor into your cost of your fish tank. If you're looking for a naturalistic scape, then you need a high quality base, like provided by this substrate, to grow those plants efficiently. Now, I'm not being paid by anyone, so I don't have to use Tropica. That's just the one that we have at work, so I picked it up. You can also use ADA or Fluval Stratum. Both work very well. There are a couple unique features about the aqua soil, and that is mainly that it is totally loaded with all the nutrients that you're going to need for growing plants. So if you're looking for some lower, lower maintenance type plants that require lower fertilization, this stuff is going to be enough for you. In addition to that, it buffers the water acidity, so it makes it slightly lower or more acidic. It buffers it to about 6.5 pH. This is going to be good for your Neocaridina and Caridina shrimp, as well as any tetras and many of the freshwater fish, especially the size that are going to be going into a 9-gallon tank. And now here we are at the time that you guys have all been waiting for. Now we can finally start setting up the tank itself. So first things first, I'm going to add my substrate. As I mentioned in the beginning, I am going to be adding in my Tropica aqua soil. This is going to be about 5 centimeters or 1.5 inches thick. That allows for the proper root growth, as well as it's going to be slightly shallower in the front. At the front of the aquarium, it'll probably be about 3 centimeters thick, and the back it might be about 6. I just kind of depends on how I want it and the way it's going to look once I put it in there. As I'm adding the aqua soil into the tank, it should be noted that you do not need to rinse this. In fact, you do not want to rinse the aqua soil. If you're choosing to use an actual aquarium gravel, then you're definitely going to want to rinse it in water a couple times, if not at least once. That way you're getting some of the debris off, but fortunately you don't have to worry about that debris in the aqua soil. That's across all aqua soils, ADA, Fluval, and Tropica. Now that we have our aqua soil in there, what you're going to want to do is start playing around with your hardscape. I have about 7 rocks and a piece of spider wood, so I'm going to be in here kind of messing around, seeing how I can do it, get different setups, get different feels. You really want to experiment and try all the possible different ways that you can set it up, because that is going to make for the most unique aquarium. Chances are if you spend a little bit more time on it, you'll end with a better result in the end. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. This is the setup tank. This is the hardscape that I'm going with right now. I think it looks pretty good. You notice that it is sloping towards the left, and that is because my bed is to the left of my bedside table, so I want to be able to see it from the left side as well as the front and have it still look like a nice cohesive unit. I have to say I am pretty excited about this build, and seeing this light turned on for the first time, this is actually going to be pretty epic. I didn't think it was going to be this bright, so I'm pretty stoked and I cannot wait to see this tank grow in. Now that you guys have seen the hardscape rise from the ashes like a phoenix, now what we can do is prepare the plants, and that is what's going to really bring this whole scape together. So as you can see in front of you, you have all the different plants that I have. Once again, I really want to thank Kyle from Tropica, North America. Thank you so much for sending these out to me. Now with that being said, plant preparation is quite easy, mostly because of the way that they pack these plants. So the 1-2 grows, these guys right here are going to be the easiest. Basically, they are packed in a little liquid, potentially some agar gel, and what you're going to need is a bucket of water like this stuff here. We're going to rinse off the agar jelly in here, and then we're going to set it into our kind of resting tray over here. That's what this is for. Because it takes a little while to get the filming process moved and all the cameras back over, I like to keep them moist with a paper towel here and just a little cover like that. The Bucephalandra and all the other potted plants here are going to be a little bit more involved. All you have to do is take off all the different rock wool. It's quite an easy process. It's just a little time consuming. Now in my case, because most of these are Anubias and the Bucephalandra or Bucephalandra, I don't know, George, let me know, I guess, if you're watching this. They don't like to grow in the substrate. They like to be attached to like a nook or a cranny or on top of the wood or somewhere that isn't directly planted in the ground. So with these guys, because you have that situation going on, what you're going to want to do is try and get as much of the rock wool out as possible. Thankfully, these guys don't have very tiny, thin roots like a lot of the other rooted plants do, so it should be a little bit easier with these. So rather than really blabbling about the process, I'm just going to show you guys. I'm going to be starting with a 1-2 grow from Tropica, and then I'll be moving on to one of the potted plants. So first things first, you can just rip off the lid here, super easy. I like to keep this because then I know exactly what species and a little bit of the care information are inside the Tropica cups as well. Then what you're going to want to do, this one is actually in the liquid. So this one is just super, super easy to do. I'm not gonna dump all the liquid in this water. I want it to stay as pure water as possible, but this is just dechlorinated water. And then there's a couple different ways you can do this next part. Essentially what I'm going to do and what certain people do is basically just rip it off. Now you can just break it right down the middle. And then from there you can break it into smaller little chunks. And this is more or less just to save time, because you can go through here and actually pick each individual stem out if you like. And when I'm planting, I might end up doing that, separating out some of the more individual stems. However, right now, that is not the focus. You just want to get this stuff out and prepared and ready to get it put in your tank. It's a very easy process. You're just breaking it up. Really not that hard to do. As you can see, I just put it in there. If this is going to be taking you guys a while, make sure you have a spray bottle so you can just spritz that down every 10 minutes or so, and that way it doesn't dry out before you plant it. So now it's the time to start the process on one of the potted plants. These are planted in rockwool, and will be a little bit more involved getting them totally free of the rockwool, but it's a very simple process as well. So with that being said, you just pop off the plastic. Again, keep these. They're useful to have around. These are just potted in net pots. Don't be too worried if you are ripping out some of the roots. It's probably going to happen. You're not going to be able to get this totally clear, or at least mostly clear, of rockwool without getting some root damage, but that's to be expected. The plants will not take offense to it. They will keep growing, and it's not the biggest deal. Pretty much all you're gonna get out of here, unless you just totally rip off all the roots, which I don't necessarily recommend going that far. Take that for what you will. If you want to do it that way, go for it. Just know that that is not always the way that I would recommend. But now that you've seen me prepare some of the plants, I'm just gonna go through and come back to you guys when all of them are ready to be planted, and we're gonna move on to the tank. All right, and as you can see here, we have all of our plants that are now removed from their various different containments, whether they're the 1-2 grow or the potted. They are all in here. I am going to give them a real quick mist down. Now it is planting time, so I'm planting them into a dry substrate, which means that they're going to dry out quite a lot faster than if I was to plant them in a little bit of water. But based on watching some of George Farmer's newest videos, he has determined that planting them in a dry substrate is actually easier, and it can actually lend to having less floating plants. So I'm gonna follow that advice. I have my trusty ADA fine nose tweezers here, and why don't we get to planting? I'm gonna start off planting with the foreground plants. My foreground plants are really only going to be the Micranthemum Monte Carlo. It's a very easy plant to grow, and then it will go into the mid-ground plants. At first these might look kind of weird when you're putting them in there, but that's just because in the 1-2 grows, they kind of grow everywhere. There's no real specific orientation to how they grow. So once you pull them out, they're gonna be growing all over the place, and that's totally fine. Just be wary of that it's probably going to look kind of weird for the first maybe month or so of your aquarium, and then once the actual growth starts to take over, it will grow properly, not in like these weird, strange directions that aren't necessarily always up. And here we have it, the finished tank setup. This is exactly what the hard work that I put in went into. Before I go into some of the details, I really wanted to thank again Kyle from Tropica, as well as Pisces Pet Emporium for providing me with the tank, and Kyle for providing me with the plant. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I can't actually wait for it to grow in. This is the tank about a week and a half later. It's been running for a week and a half. As you can see, it is fully cycled. The fish are in there. I used Tank Buster from Pisces, as well as some K1 filter media. So the tank is fully cycled, it's all running, and as you can see, the fish are doing wonderful. I guess we can go into a little bit of detail as to what I did with this tank. You guys saw me planting a little bit, but right off the bat, I actually had to put a rock on top of that log just to keep it from floating, and this branch extending towards the camera right now at the very bottom was not attached, and it floated for the first week or so. Just recently it sunk, and I put it to where its final resting spot will be. I had a little bit of issues with the Pogostemon Helferi. The majority of it wasn't getting enough light and actually did melt back. There is still a little bit remaining in the tank, so I'm hoping that stuff will do okay and will adapt to the different lighting conditions. Or it brings up the fact that I might actually add another LED inside the hood of the Fluval Flex and then have that running on the tank as well. Overall, I'm super thrilled with how this came out. The fish really enjoy it. In the future, you can expect me to pretty well load this tank. I'm planning to get 3 more of the Rasboras, the rummy nose Rasboras that are in there right now. So we'll have a nice group of 6 of those, and then have either 2 or 4 clown killies. I don't know when those will be coming in because I have to wait for us to get a shipment of them, and they haven't been coming in regularly. In addition to that, I want to add some of the Halloween shrimp. They are basically nice bright orange shrimp that will add some variety to the majority of blue and green that are in here. I think that'll really make the tank pop with 10 or 15 of the really bright colored orange shrimps running around. I know their babies won't really last with the Rasboras in there, but the adults certainly will. So that being said, I don't really have anything else to talk about on this tank other than the fact that I might be adding another LED to it just to enhance the color and make it a little bit brighter. Other than that, I am extremely thrilled with this tank. I really like the way it looks on my bed, and I'm really happy to be back in the aquarium hobby. I was in it for a while, and then I've been out of it for about 2 years, and now the Fluval Flex has brought me back to the world of fish, and I couldn't be more happy. So that's gonna be it for me. I don't really have anything else to say about this tank. If you guys have any questions or have any video suggestions that you would like to see on the setup or the maintenance or whatever of this Fluval Flex 9-gallon, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, make sure you drop a like, share it on Facebook or Twitter, and if you're interested in following me on social media, I'll leave my Instagram and Facebook on the screen right now for you guys to go check out. There will also be links in the description. And if you want to see more fish, frog, reptile, and plant videos in the future, make sure to click that subscribe button. We have some awesome stuff coming up, and I cannot wait to share it. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, and we'll catch you in the next video. Later.